There's a difference between hope and belief. Belief comes with an engine that is a map of how to get there or how to realize something, manifest it, make it happen. It comes with sweat equity. You have to deal your way to get that dream, which is different than hope. That is, I believe, essentially what true optimism is. Believing in what we value. Doesn't mean laying down and saying, yeah, everything's okay. It's also standing up for what you don't believe in or what you're against. You got to stand up for things. And when you do that, you see the uglier sides of the world. And then you see the uglier sides of ourselves. I think a big step for all of us, and me included, is to admit these things. That it's not contradictions, that it's not just good or evil. We got all these things. They're in each one of us too. Look in the mirror, admit that. And then make the choice, which gives a hell of a lot more dignity and ownership and power than making it a mandate. I'm talking about doing it for much more reason than saying, well, I think I should do that. That's a step towards it. You can choose this way, evil, doubt, or the other way. But the other way, if you let the evil and doubt win, we all lose. I don't see the win in that.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, Greg McKeown, and I just wonder if you in your own life, as you're listening to this or you're watching this, whether you feel that sense sometimes that logic is not enough, that will only take you so far, that there are so many experiences in life that border on the edge of the mystical or are so beyond and unimaginable to the logical part of our brains that we need something more, that we need to move, to use the words of this conversation, to poems and to prayers. We have here on the podcast my friend and a person you know, Matthew McConaughey. I mean, of course, he's an Academy Award winner. Yes, he's a #1 New York Times best-selling author of Green Lights, which just had such a life of its own, my goodness. Opened up, I remember McConaughey saying this to me previously, like opened up a whole lane that wasn't open before, a chance for leadership, a chance to be a voice. And one needs to add to that even before writing this new book, every interaction that we have, whether in text or in person, I have been really taken with your choice of words. They are distinctive. They are different. There's never a text response that sounds like a normal text response, and that's not criticism, obviously, but it speaks to someone who's caring about words, who has built a life from words, who is metabolizing life through words. And with that, McConaughey, welcome back to the podcast.
Hey, good to be here, Greg. Good to be here, as close to in person as we can be. But
yeah, it's lovely. I mean, let's just get to this. I mean, of course, you can ask like the obvious question, why this book? But as I was reviewing Green Lights, you end with a page of these 10 goals that you'd set and then forgotten, and they'd impacted your life. And I actually wondered which of these goals is being manifest in this new book. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Wow, got to probably pull up those goals again.
Okay.
Got them there?
I do have them here. Give me 1 second. I'll grab them for you. Yeah, so this is in the PS section. Just was looking at them. Yeah. Become a 10 goals in life, September 1st, 1992. Become a father, find and keep the woman for me, keep my relationship with God, chase my best self, be an egotistical utilitarian. I'll say that again. Be an egotistical utilitarian. Yeah. Take more risks. Stay close to mom and family. Win an Oscar for Best Actor. Look back and enjoy the view. Just keep living.
3, 4, 5, 6, 9, and 10.
Yeah,
that's where this book is.
Just tell me more about that. Like what? How do you see the connection? Spiritual relation with God.
live a life I can look back on and be pleased as possible with. Definitely just keep living. And then I don't remember what egotistical utilitarian for sure is constantly on this pursuit and belief that redefining the word selfish, that's what is for us, is not necessarily not good for the most amount of people. That there is a place where the decision that is best for us is actually best for the most amount of people, and the decision for the most amount of people is for us. The selfless act is, in many places, the most selfish act. The selfish act, truly selfish, is oftentimes the most selfless act. So it's those. I think I landed on poems and prayers because I found myself getting a little cynical. Found myself doubting others, not giving benefit of the doubt, objectifying people at a glance or a stereotype, reading the news, seeing bad news, seeing the rules of engagement being sort of up in the air, or basically succeed at any cost, and that's the winner. What are the ethics of the world? I don't know. Ask the winner. Yeah, but he cheated that's how he cheated to win the game. It doesn't matter. He won. That's the ethics. That. And then looking at this, at the world around me, and then having this little inkling of like, well, all right, it's just how it is. And that's, I think, what kind of jackknifed my thinking. I was like, no. We don't go, that's just how it is. And I swore off of cynicism decades ago. And said, don't ever, that disease will creep in. It does as we age. Do not let it. And we go from innocence when we're born to naivete, where we're maybe ignorant, and then we are skeptical. We learn to discern and discriminate and make choices and have judgment. But boy, the next step into cynicism is, I believe, an early death. Even though you may be still walking around. And I felt it creeping in on me, Greg, and I was like, I'm not ready to become that mature. I'm not. I actually think that's where evolution stops in us personally, and it's a disease it's a choice we choose to have. And I started to find myself just kind of going, oh yeah, okay, well that's just how the world works, and I'm right, and So my own doubts are why I went to poems and prayers, because I've always been someone who believes art emulates life. You go to logic to find the dream. You look at reality to create the ideal. And for 50 years, I've done that. And then the reason I wrote poems and prayers is I flipped the script. I said, no, let's look to the ideals. Let's look to the dreams. Let's look to the poetry of life. Let's look to the prayers, the pursuit of divinity and beauty and art. And then let's bring that down and make sure we're still going to try and make that a reality. So that's the main flip for me and why I wrote it. I was having some doubts, and I wasn't ready to say that's how I am. I was being a bit cynical, feeling a touch of cynicism come in, and I said, no, I'm not quitting.
It's an understandable shift that people go through. As I've been thinking about this last weekend, going to get together with some friends from my childhood, and one of them's my best friend is dying of cancer. There's lots of other challenges and troubles that have faced those people. The difference between the dreams of our youth and then this snapshot of life later is dramatic. You know, you're full of mortality's wounds, and the question is, I think, that you're posing could be framed like this. Do we allow those experiences of life to metastasize into a kind of emotional cancer, or do we metabolize it into something meaningful that allows us to grow and so on? This was a metabolizing project for you.
Yes, and it still is, and I'm in the process of still metabolizing. It's a bit of what I heard you say: giving thanks in all circumstances, not for all circumstances. Admitting that crisis and tragedy and death and sickness and lies and cheats and steals. And, again, to go back to green lights, don't start with saying it's unbelievable. No, admit it. It's there. Instead of going, oh my God, what's wrong with the world? I can't believe. It's there. It's in us too. And then can we make the choice to go, I'm going to fight it too. And I'm going to feed it. I'm going to feed my good wolf over my bad wolf because I got it both in me, and we all do. And everyone's struggling with that choice every day. And how soon do we concede? That's the ticket, I believe, to being on the way out. When do we say doubt? My doubt is winning. I'm letting my doubt win. I'm a nihilist. I'm an anarchist. Okay, that's just how it is. Fuck it. When do we do that? Ooh, that's the early ticket out.
Yeah, because the suffering is baked in, right? So that's there's nothing you can do about that part of it. The question is, can you find enough meaning to justify that level of suffering so that you can continue to go on? And there's a chapter of a book that I've read literally, I don't know, let's say actually 100 times. Most of the time I've listened to it. And it's from a leader, church leader, Gordon B. Hinckley, and it's about optimism. And most of what's in there was written, let's say, in his 90s. And it's been so good to rewire my mind and to keep trying to metabolize that way of thinking. But over the years, I have come to that conclusion, my goodness, how much he had to choose this.
Right.
So by the time he's there teaching it, it's as if, oh, yes, well, he just always had this view. No, that's not how you get to that kind of robust optimism and hope. You have to actually generate it, conjure it. You have to do something else with it.
Yeah. And in that sense, I think true optimism is actually survival. I think it's much more than, and I'm not talking about the sticky notes of dream it, you can do it. Glass half full. I'm not talking about the positive thinking. I'm talking about, again, in all circumstances, not for. What just did the math is not an asset at all if you go the other way. And if you let doubt win and you're not believing. Now look, there's a difference between hope and belief. I'm talking about belief. Belief comes with an engine that is a map of how to get there or how to realize something, manifest it, make it happen. It comes with sweat equity. You have to deal your way to get that dream, which is different than hope. But that is, I believe, essentially what true optimism is. Believing in what we value. It still doesn't mean laying down and saying, yeah, everything's okay. It's also standing up for what you don't believe in or what you're against. Like I write about is the difference between a nice guy and a good man. It's harder to be a good man than it is to be a nice guy. A nice guy goes along with everything. I got, whatever. No, I mean, you got to stand up for things. You got all of a sudden, and when you do that, you see the uglier sides of the world. You face them. You engage with, and then you see the uglier sides of ourselves. And that bad wolf starts barking louder. But it's the constant choice to go, nope. That monster inside me, that monster in the world, I'm going to do my best to look it in the eye and not turn away from it. But admit, again, I think I keep going back to the word admit. I think a big step for all of us, and me included, is to admit these things. That it's not contradictions, that it's not just good or evil. We got all these things. They're in each one of us, too. Look in the mirror, admit that. And then make the choice, which gives a hell of a lot more dignity and ownership and power than making it a mandate. I'm talking about doing it for much more reason than saying, well, I think I should do that. That's a step towards it, which I think we all know. I know I need to tell myself what I should do enough times to where it becomes a habit and I'm just doing it as part of myself, like this man you're talking about. He worked hard enough to become, his optimism was his survival. It sounds like it's fait accompli now, but boy, there's a lot of sweat getting there. But it's admitting that it is a choice, and admitting that you could choose this way, evil, doubt, or the other way. But the other way, if you let the evil and doubt win, we all lose. There's no, I don't see the win in that.
So speaking about the win in that, so when you take this to your editor, to your agent, hey, I want to write this book, what's their first reaction? Are they just like, yes, let's do it because after green lights, it's amazing? Or do they go, okay, if we have to do a poems and prayers book, like what's their reaction?
Their reaction was pretty quickly, okay, but it was, what do you mean? And
Yep.
it was, there was a pause. So I said, no, this is not another full narrative of storytelling as I did in, chronology of green lights. I go, this is where I am right now, and where I think, and I'm hearing that a lot of other people are looking for belief and what to believe in, whether that's more belief in God, whether that's belief in ourselves, each other, tomorrow, our kids, yesterday, whatever those things are that we put value in, to get the giddy up, the revival, to go double down on that. Double down on that. And if enough of us do that, I think that's a big step on the way forward.
I shared this with you previously, but I'm curious about your response to it. When I saw that you'd written Poems and Prayers, and I started getting into it, my take was the following. This was like my blurb, so to speak. Is that Poems and Prayers is like Bob Dylan riding shotgun with Billy Graham on a road trip through the soul. Okay, so I liked it. I was obviously proud of it.
Before you read it?
I wrote that when I had access to everything I had access to at that time.
But you hadn't read the book.
I didn't have the whole book.
Well, that was it sounded like you read the book.
Yeah. So it names it. It names it okay for you.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, it's as I say in the beginning, my poems are my prayers are my poems. What's the difference? Every single poem that I have, every single poem is a prayer. It's a hope. It's a beauty. It's a way, a new lens of seeing. It's a dream. Every prayer is a yearning, a question, a need, a want, some clarity in the confusion, or just pure thanks and gratitude to help to compound the blessings that we have. Those are dreams. That's a poem. Doesn't have to rhyme. Well, we can make them rhyme, and we can make our, like I said, selling Sunday morning like a Saturday night. We can dance to these things. If we can make it rhyme, I believe that, a value push, of values are, and a push in more belief, and it's like punk rock now. But it's rebellious now, and let's dance to it. It doesn't have, it can be, let's bring it to Saturday night. It's okay. Have a beer while you're jamming too.
That phrase is in a movie I've watched recently, that says maybe, maybe hope and optimism.
Superman.
Yes, Superman.
I heard him say it. I went, ding.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, I love that, and I love that spirit of it. Yes, that's the real rebellion.
Yeah.
That's the real rebellion. We all have the suffering, so the real rebellion isn't being down. It's not disbelieving. The real rebellion is always the belief, the attempt to build something. Yeah. Cynics don't build anything.
No, the real this is what we're talking about. This is the rage. This is the all-nighter. This is and to get it and to win, we're gonna have to rage. It's not gonna be a kumbaya, sit on the side and everybody hum. It's gonna take a rage, I believe. That is it is punk rock. I had written that down about 5 years ago, and I just saw Superman 3 weeks ago, and I heard that line. I was like, "That's it."
Yes, we're in alignment here. It reminds me of a phrase from that chapter from Hinckley. Cynics do not contribute. Skeptics do not create. Doubters do not achieve.
Yeah.
I feel like there's
skeptics. I think we'd all be wise to be skeptical, because skeptics do make a choice. and
Yeah.
discern between this or that,
Yeah.
and then you can create. But that's as far as I'm willing to go, and I hope and believe that should be as far as most of us are willing to go, because the next step is cynicism, and I just don't see any
Upside.
evolution in that.
Yeah.
No,
No.
not even in quality of life. Everyone may laugh at your joke at the dinner party. You may be the clever one. Oh, wow. But it's a real easy place to go. It's a weak default place to go. It may be witty.
Because it takes no risk, really. Because to simply point out the challenges, you're kind of stating the obvious at that point. And yes, it's the combination to be able to be honest and truthful about whatever's going on, and recognizing that within that truthfulness, what you're saying is goodness and optimism.
Right.
Like that these really are intertwined. I want to read a quote to you, and then what I want is for you to read us something. I would love for you to share one of the poems from the book yourself, and
Love to.
Let's start with that and then see how many we can get through. The quote is from Wittgenstein, who said this. He said, "The limits of my language mean the limits of my world." And that's so profound to me. I'll give you a second with it. The limits of my language mean the limits of my world. When I look at what you've been doing, not just with Green Lights and the children's book and now with Poems and Prayers, but in all of the years before any of that was published, because that sort of appeared in a sense suddenly, but of course it was being written for 50 years.
Right.
On pieces of paper and scraps and so on, and put together. In that process, you're trying to expand the limits of your world. You're trying to make sense so you don't get trapped in Hollywood or in a particular role, a certain typecast, constantly trying to work out, how do I expand these limits by using language that help me to make sense of everything that's going on?
Yes. I'd never heard that quote, and then to hear you back it up with your understanding of it is really cool. Yeah. I appreciate that. That is, whether I knew it or not until you just said it, is definitely, I know what I've been trying to do.
Yeah.
And to keep raising it. Expand is the big word there. Higher, wider, deeper. Again, this mortal life, man. These limits that can become status quo that we can put on ourselves, or only relegate to mere imagination over there. Over in the imagination make believe closet. It's how quickly, or maybe how long we can endure not putting everything over into the imagination closet. Which is part of what I'm going through with this book, is I'm like, no, this is more than imagination. It's possible and practical. And that those two, fate and free will, self-reliance and faith are not contradictory. That, as a believer, and I've had my agnostic years, and when I came out of them and came back to God, that God was applauding, going, hey, thanks for having the courage to go out on your own and thinking it was all about you and responsibility. Thanks for having your hands on the wheel. I wish more of us had our hands on the wheel, but welcome back. You know what I mean? Because you're not completely in charge, but keep your hands on the wheel. So, yeah, expanding the language with age, with wisdom, can be tough when it goes along with experience. As you said, when you opened up, we start going to more funerals than weddings, and more funerals than births, and all of a sudden our friends are moving on. You're like, man, I didn't think, just the other day, when did that happen? When did they get old? What's the gap? And then also aging gracefully ourselves. Part of it is, I believe, about denial. There are things that I know I can't do, but I still believe I can. Now, I don't want to be foolish and injure myself, but how do we age gracefully? Well, that's for our mind and our thoughts and as well, as we get so much knowledge and we want to secure the things we've built. Oh, I've got a career, I've got a family. I want to just, let's build walls around this and just protect this and just take care of this.
Totally. You want to protect what you have. You got something to lose, so it's different.
Yeah.
Takes more courage to keep going.
You're not taking one-way tickets. You have more loose. You have to measure your risk, because you also have people that do want to sabotage that in you, and we have to admit that too. So you don't want to be foolish with those things. At the same time, you don't want to just hunker down and say my way is the only way because I don't talk to anyone else or listen to anything else. I'm not expanding my language at all. I'm sticking to this. Then we become a dinosaur and you die around with cobwebs all over the place. That doesn't sound any fun either. So, yeah.
Well,
expanding language.
It makes me think of two movies that I think of as connected. I'm thinking now of Interstellar, but also Arrival. I don't know if you know the movie Arrival.
I don't.
I would love to hear your thoughts about it when, if you watch it. It's the themes in it. It's one of the top 10 movie for me of all time.
Okay.
It's on the surface, it's a sci-fi movie. It's based on a short story, brilliant short story. They turn it into the whole movie, and in it, aliens arrive in spaceships. It's done very artistically. It's beautiful. The main protagonist is a linguist who is asked to come to try to help to translate the heptapod B is what the language ends up being called, the language that the aliens are trying to communicate through. And no one can do anything. They don't know. Are these people here to destroy us? Are they, they're way further advanced to this. What's their intention? How do we even work out what their intention is? And so she's the person more than anybody else who, using her ability to translate languages and to think about languages, is able to start to communicate, break through the boundaries, expand the language so that suddenly it's not just so them versus us. There's other people in the movie who are ready to just try and blow up the spaceships. And she's going, look, we don't even understand what's going on yet. Let's wait and understand. Now, the breakthrough idea in the book is that as she learns their language, it isn't just that she develops cooperation with them. It's that actually learning the language changes her thinking. So it is literally true that as she's learning this language, she starts to be able to perceive time differently. They don't measure time. They see it all at the same time. When she learns the language, that's what happens to her, so that she can remember the future. And it has these massive ramifications. And that's the edge of this to me, is that certain kinds of language expand our thinking. So that if you say like this is now the segue back to you because I want you to be reading these. If you say, well, reading is thinking with another person's brain, then reading poetry is thinking with another person's brain at a higher level. And so the idea, I think, is that as we read poetry and as we write our own poetry, as we think about words and try to articulate things, we are really transforming the way we see. We become more perspicacious, to use that word. We have a much clearer... Perspicacious, yes.
What's that?
It's the speed with which you can keenly see what's really going on, like under the surface. There's a word that was used a lot in the classics and hasn't been used recently, but it's such a beautiful word. You know, the sense you have when you're writing something and then you go, I've named what I meant to say. Finally, I've got words for it. I can see something clearly. It's perspicacious. So with that, I want to hear what your thoughts are when you watch the movie. But now,
Arrival.
Let's have you. Yeah, Arrival. Yeah.
Okay. Let me find. Nicole, do you know where Backswing is? I think that'd be a fun one to read right now. Backswing. I found it. Here we go. This is sort of, and I'll do this one in some of the some of those shows that I'm taking on the road to sort of set the spiritual platform. Yeah. It's called Backswing. In between destruction and existence, paths of persistence and least resistance, below the climb and above the bow, where what it is answers how. When running sits still between fate and free will. On the other side of a mortal limit, past the gravity of any inhibit, where the truth pirouettes on stable feet, behind reaching out and ahead of retreat, where our sovereign soul is safe at home, unanimous, yet still alone, where the definition of evolution is served as such in the solution, when the context of each and every choice only hears the sound of our own voice, salacious and still satisfied, where desires heed and never hide. In the kingdom of suspense and the incomplete, where not yet and already finally meet, between our getting and our give, here in the backswing, where we're dying to live.
There's so many...
Is it happening? You know? Where's that spot between the inhale and the exhale? That spot for golfers out there where the club stops and it's still. In the parentheticals, as my pastor puts it. In the parentheses. And that's the in-betweens. And again, we talk about why poetry. If it can rhyme, it's easy to digest, and you can kind of jig to it. It's got a little ditty, and it takes back. Some of my stuff is very Dr. Seussy, even. You know what I mean? And it's great. It's simple, but it doesn't tell us. It's not advice. It doesn't. It just. It's a place. It's a pot. It's a way of seeing and moving and perceiving and desiring and understanding that is personal to each one of us that reads it or hears it or feels it. I think that's one of the things I love about being able to write poetry or prayers. Anyone can hear that, and if they take to it, if they find something that they understand or that turned them on, it will be 100% perfectly theirs. And like this line where where is it? Where the context of each and every choice only hears the sound of our own voice. You know, it's a very personal experience that we can own, that is ours, and no one else's. At the same time, it's everyone's. You know?
Yeah.
That's that place of the selfless and the selfish that we were talking about earlier.
Well, underlying that poem and the whole book and the conversation we've had is this idea of duality.
Yeah.
And that it's not belief or unbelief.
Right.
It's not optimism or pessimism. It's like these principles are in tension. And as you accept them both and the reality of both, you start to find, I think, that sweet spot that this poem speaks to, where you're like, yes, I'm in the right moment. I'm living with the cognitive dissonance, right? Like, it's easy to want to be black or white, to be this side or that side, red or blue. You know, it's easy to pick sides, and it just feels certain and clear. But how is our ability at holding ambiguity and living in that cognitive, not distortion, cognitive, I've forgotten the word.
Balance?
Just the, no, it's a psychological term, cognitive.
Dissonance?
What did I say a second ago? Cognitive.
You said distortion, and you said no.
Did
not
I say
distortion.
that? Cognitive. Yeah,
Yeah.
but okay. Well,
Dissonance.
I'll remember it in a second. Yeah, thank you. Cognitive dissonance. Yeah. That's a higher level of maturity. To be able to go, okay, I'm holding both pieces of truth, even though they seem in contradiction, because I need to expand and get beyond this very simplistic way of seeing the world, and go, okay, let's learn what it's really like. It's not like I used to think. Right. I love that poem. I love what you were able to share with it. Give us another one. Yeah. Share your thoughts, and then I want to hear another one.
First thing, and this goes back to sometimes, you know, we don't want to give the cliff notes before anything, sometimes we hear the cliff notes from people and you're like, wait, I hadn't read the book, or I hadn't heard the whole thing. But the easy one from the beginning that I know I'm still working on, and it sounds so simple when we share it, but just admit that. Mm-hmm. Admit that the doubt and the evil is in us. Mm-hmm. And does beating it sometimes mean denying it? Sure, if you've got to pull that trick, damn right, I do it all the time. My mom's 93, kicking ass in life, living on denial. But admitting that it's there.
Right.
And then going, all right, every day I wake up and take the hill or head out. Here we go. And can that sometimes battle, if you stick, it can become a song. It can become a dance. And that's what I mean with the poetry and the rhythms to the rhymes in the hands of time. These struggles, we all have them. Obviously, when we're having them, we think we're the center of the universe and everything's circling around us. Well, guess what? It's not. It is, because it is personal to us and no one else, but it's universal. Everyone's going through it. So let's admit it, that's part of the cycle of life, part of the cycle of every single day, no matter how well you're doing. And if you're doing too well where you don't have any resistance of those thoughts, well, then maybe got to stub your toe on purpose. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Just to check back in with, that's part of it. But to admit, I think first thing that's so important is let's just admit that. To not be, that keeps us from being falsely and foolishly optimistic. It keeps us from being all Instagrammers who only show our best selves in the best light. I'm just telling my son when we let him go on socials at 15, he's a surfer, and he was putting up all of his best waves and not the bad ones. And I said, buddy, you better put some wipeouts on there, because when you go surf at a break, everyone who's seen your IG is going to be looking at you like you're that good of a surfer all the time or better. And it's going to paint yourself in a corner in reality. So let's admit your wipeouts. Share those too. People will go, it actually comes across as more honest and can be more attractive that way in some ways. This is
Yes, all of this is an attempt at speaking what we think is true, and what we think is true at any given moment is going to be a bit messy, because we don't have a full understanding of truth, and because so it appears contradictory to us, and what you can just pretend it's not that way, so that you can always have the right answer, the perfect thing to say. I love this idea of admitting it, of admitting the duality that we're facing.
Even maybe more baseline than that is just keep trying. Just try. And as a believer, I believe God. Thomas Merton quote, man, I think it pleases you, God, that I'm trying. And if you don't believe in God, but you have a philosophy and you're not a tyrant or a nihilist, whatever it is you believe in, philosophy, whatever, just keep trying. Don't quit the fight. Even though every day you're going out the door and it's going up and it's the underdog. Just keep trying.
But that right there, like, it's worth us just underscoring it for a moment. Not everyone who says, I believe in God, I think really believes in God. And not everyone who says they don't. True. Because it just depends what your understanding is. But just the highest good in your life, the thing that makes you want to keep trying, that's God. There's like I had a long conversation with a friend who considers himself a nihilist, and it's so obvious that he isn't to me, even though he's taken on that language for a number of reasons. But it's like, no, you're trying in your life. Why are you doing that? Yeah. Whatever the answer to that question, that's the why. That positive evidence of things you can't see that are pulling you towards something good, that's God.
Yep.
So to aim at the highest thing that you possibly can, whatever the highest is that you have at any one time, it is this intent, I think, that you're talking about. And
engaging in that pursuit to chase whatever that form of divinity, whether that's your transcendent self or whatever. Yes, that's it. I think what you said is interesting, because there are a lot of people, spiritual has become a word. I'm spiritual. I think there's a lot of spiritual people that actually are quite religious, just don't want to call it that. And I
Sure.
understand by, past definitions. And I always like to remind them that, look, the word religion comes from the Latin word legare and which means to bind together again. And when I hear spiritual people going, "Oh, I'm all for unity," I'm like, unity. I'm like, that's the definition of religion. Have we, civilization, bastardized that by making that a business and excluding so many? Yes. But don't throw the baby out with the bathwater on that religion. It's all religious. Nietzsche, I think he was very extremely religious. His oversoul and self-reliance was so. I think that's right on the money with, and I think he was a believer, whether he put it in words or not. I've always read this stuff to be incredibly inspiring for my own faith. Yeah. Some of us, we say we do and don't. And many of us do and don't know that we do. Or don't have the language to write that we do.
Don't have the language. I think it's such an important point because language is inherently, I know it's kind of a meta subject and sounds all philosophical or whatever, but it's like language is already built with meaning and with meaning frames. So when you've been taught to think, to speak a certain way, when ideas have been taught in a certain way to you, then you are at first a prisoner to those ideas and to those words. And it's only as you become an observer of your language, an observer of how you were taught. Well, how did my parents speak, and how does their thinking limit mine or help mine?
Yeah.
And only as you become an observer of it, you become a creator. And suddenly, okay, I'm going to try and use words to describe the reality of my life and all of it, the richness of it. That is a truthful, that pursuit of truth in that day-to-day, moment-to-moment, word-to-word way takes courage.
Yeah.
It takes courage to do that. It takes courage to speak and to write. That's my experience.
And
I think that's been true for you too.
The definition of words.
Yes.
I just went through the original definition of religion. I'm a prescription. Yes. I'm like, I don't mind updating words. They take different meaning through time, but we do it a little too quickly for my money. We throw things out, like no one likes to be humiliated, but we sure do preach humility. You know what I mean? But nobody wants to be humiliated. Well, maybe we should like to be humiliated. It's a form of humility if that's what we're seeking. I grew up on, you and I've talked about it. Hate was the bad word. I mean, you cuss all you want, but don't say that word. Can't was a major consequences word that's going to cost you, where we got, in trouble, major trouble for saying those words. They took on meaning. The pain we felt from using those words in our young minds as children were like, oh, well, then the opposite must bring pleasure. Can and love. Oh, okay. That was a pretty good lessons, but they were hammered into us with, railroad stakes. And happy they were, but we malaprop things along the way.
Yes.
And it's nice before everyone just throws a quick new definition. Discrimination got a bad put in a bad place along the way. Discrimination became a dirty word when actually what it means is to be discerning and to choose to make judgment of. It got, and we bastardized that word for a little bit or threw it in and kind of made a bad name of it. There's certain words, and again, I talk about this in Poems and Prayers. What is the spirit? Not the definition. I want to find that poem on this note. If I can find
perfect.
it in here. There's
just
one
about. You find it.
Yeah. Choice and judgment are not inherent oppressions. Unjust and cruel treatments are. Confine yourself to the letter, and the precept may be less. But if you consider the spirit, word and intention will confess. That's from 2 Corinthians 3:6, you know, he has made us competent as ministers of a new covenant, not of the letter, but of the Spirit. For the letter kills, but the Spirit gives life. We've gotten very, taciturn on these. What's the word? The letter. We overcompensated, I believe, with some of our cancel culture in that way, without understanding and giving as much merit as we should to. What did you mean? Even when I was talking earlier about we go from innocence to naivete to skepticism. In the naivete, and I have a poem in here about I wish more crimes were from ignorance. In the naivete, sometimes people just didn't know better or worse, didn't know how to use a word, didn't have an expansive language to be able to. And to crucify them for the word when their spirit and intent was they didn't know better. They were ignorant. They were naive. Is something that we got to watch. So look into the intent of what someone means, and what something may mean to me may be something that it means to you. And I want to be considerate of how I say how it made you feel. But that's can be separate from, whoa, what did I mean? Now, in our next conversation, I would take in the context and go, oh, I understand, because it doesn't mean that much. I'll rearrange my words because I can find another way to say this that won't harm you or make you feel bad about what I said. But, my intent was always pure. I think when we look at the spirit of the word and not the letter, that's where
I love the question, what do you mean by that? In normal everyday conversations, to just ask someone before jumping in with my reaction, my response, well, when you use that word, what did you mean by it? Or what is behind that phrase? Help me get it, because people have masks, and then language itself, they just have whatever language they have to try and describe a world that's much, much richer and more complex than any of our current sets of language. So to just jump down someone's throat or to just assume you know the meaning of the word is itself like a really, I think, awful form of naivety. But the phrase you used, another phrase that stood out to me there is like, if we crucify someone for their words, but that feels, it's so literal, right? So with Christ, he is crucified for his words. Yeah. That is why, so those words are so powerful. And it speaks to me in this way, at least, which is, it makes me want to be very, very careful and precise in my words, and to try to work on words and be a wordsmith, not for the sake of wordsmithing, but to try to get closer to what I actually mean. Right. And it also means that we have to protect that right to use words. Right. Because if you can't speak, you can't think. You have to be able to get it wrong in your words to be able to even look at yourself and say, well, that isn't really what I mean. How many of these poems came out one time and that's it? You wrote them and that was the end of it. How many did you rewrite and rewrite?
One of them was just what you said. Not sure how to do it wrong, but pretty damn sure I didn't do it right.
Yep. Give us the poem you were just mentioning another poem there, and I'd love for you to read that to us. What was the name of the one you just mentioned?
That one didn't have a title. That was just on the word and the letter and the spirit of the word.
No, but there was another one that I thought you just said. Oh, but maybe give us a
regulation.
Yes, perfect.
Try that. Regulations. Listen to yourself. Hear yourself. Learn yourself and mind. Measure yourself. Train yourself. Referee yourself in kind. Negotiate yourself. Invest yourself. Multiply yourself and scale. Administer yourself. Accomplish yourself. Dare yourself from hell. Own yourself. Exchange yourself. Pay yourself back. Regulations.
What does it mean to you?
In that spot, we're talking about in the backswing, where it's live, where things are not just black and white. how do we, who are we, how do we police and referee ourselves? How do we, one, invest in ourselves, listen, hear, and learn ourselves? Because who else is there better to get to know than ourselves? And we got to have our monologue if we're going to get along and have a dialogue with life or anyone else. Measure, train, and referee yourself in kind. Referee yourself in kind. I put kind in there because sometimes we do need to forgive ourselves. And sometimes we do need to say, nope, the buck stops here. Quit being a damn repeat offender. But referee yourself in kind. Don't just hammer yourself because you're human. And next, negotiate, invest, and multiply. Yeah, I think we're always measuring, well, what's my play here, my negotiation with myself that I'm going to make an investment in, which is going to take more of my time, and then I'm going to share it and scale and multiply that. Administer, accomplish yourself, and dare yourself from hell. This is the action of administration, where you give yourself your own mandates of choice and accomplish. And again, if you don't believe in heaven, just dare yourself further from hell. Dare yourself to move a little further from the pain that's there in life. Then own yourself. And if you own yourself, exchange. The free trade. It's a free trade when you own something. And now share it. Be generous. Get an exchange rate back from the rest of the world. Put something out there and hopefully get a like response. If you don't, that language is speaking the same language of the soul of other people. And then ultimately I come back to pay yourself back. All of that, I believe, does pay yourself back. That's where I'm saying all of that, and leading to the last line, would be something that I think, even though it's about self, is the way to become more, quote unquote, selfless, which ultimately pays yourself back. It's the ultimate ROI. That checked both boxes of what was the selfish thing that was best for me or most true for me. Oh, and that was also what gave the most truth and was the best thing for the most amount of people in the utilitarian sense. Again, where those two are not a contradiction. But reward yourself. Be able to look in the mirror and go, yep, you had to do with that. That success, that time I got what I want, look in the mirror and go, you had something to do with that. Oh, that failure where I missed the mark. Yep, had something to do with that too there, bud. But measure yourself. Take that Rolodex and scale and measure yourself. How you doing, and where your choices are coming from.
You're talking of measuring yourself. You're doing a tour with this. Like, it's an unusual book process.
Yeah.
You'll be performing. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah. So we're going to 5 cities: New York, Nashville, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Los Angeles, and Austin. I'm going to go out on stage and have about an 18-minute sort of set the table for what the night is about, what I'm doing here, what I hope the connection they can get, what kind of time we're going to hopefully have, and what the tone is, and what we're going to be talking about. And the lead on that is belief. As I said earlier, whether it's belief in God, ourselves, our transcendent selves, our kids, our future, the past, whatever it is we value and care about. But can we believe more than that? Can we revive that belief within us, which has been hidden or maybe beat down? Can we revive that back up and get that up on the surface and start seeing that and thinking that way and opening our language to having more of that, expanding more of that with which we believe in? I will then invite a musical guest on stage. In New York, it'll be John Bon Jovi. In Nashville, it'll be Lucas Nelson. In Tulsa, it'll be Zach Bryan. In L.A., it'll be John Mayer. And in Austin, it'll be John Batiste. They will come out, and I've been working and playing, actually, with these musicians as I sort of gave a playlist, about 12 or so poems that cover 3 general sort of areas. One, spiritual aspiration, and the second section is doubt, a lot of doubt and doubt faith. And then the final is grace, up full, blessing up, and going out with a shindig of, hey, this is going to be a rage. We're going to have to break a sweat to do this, but let's make it a party and do it. in our own lives. And they're going to play scores under my poem reads. Hopefully, I'm working on that a few of them will do some duets with me of the poems. And that'll be what the show is. So instead of, when this first came up, you want to go to bookstores and sign some books? Sure, but let's have some more fun than that. And then I was like, let's go to parks, and I'll just start off reading on a park bench and see if someone shows up. And then we're like, that's a good idea, but let's expand that a little bit. What if we actually got some theaters, and let's do that. And then after I had the theaters, I was like, oh, what if I got musicians to come on? Because a lot of these poems are very musical. And called some friends up and favorite musicians, and they said yes, and that's what we got started, the 16th through the 21st of December.
And that right there is the Bob Dylan meets Billy Graham, literally, not literally, but almost right there on the stage, because it's combining that music, that poetry, lyrics, and I love the idea, love it so much from this conversation, that what we're to do with the cognitive dissonance, what we're to do with that uncertainty and ambiguity is to turn it into music. I just think that's such a beautiful idea, that it's like music is almost made for that.
Yeah.
Enabling us, poetry and music, enabling us to try to wrestle with these dualities and challenges in life.
It makes it so much more digestible too, and understandable. When something rhymes or it has a bit of a jig to it, and it puts rhyme to the reason, and we're filled with so much reason everywhere. And if it doesn't rhyme, it's just notes. But when you put it together, it becomes a song. And if we can dance through the hard times and the good times and understand that the hard stuff is actually part of the same damn song, there's great power and amnesty in that at the same time. And so, to have music to it, to have rhyme in these things, as I say, to sell Sunday morning like a Saturday night. You know what I mean? Then I'm going, I want to go to that rave. This doesn't have to be hard. It's going to be hard, but it's going to be rewarding. Not just and maybe in the next life, but here now. I got a poem in here called Heaven or Not, which is a Nicole, do you know where Heaven or Not is? What page? Where are you? Give me a minute. Heaven or Not, yeah. This is a really cool thing. I think it'll be a good conversation for us to talk about this. So, Heaven or Not. Tomorrow is not today's measurement when the misery is bad enough. To the suffering, consideration is a privilege. And that is part of what faith and religion are for. To help those in misery hang on to a hope that will most likely not be served them in this life. To sell them belief and faith that they will be served in the next. And what if there is nothing there? Nothing to hope for? No next? I don't know. Either way, in misery here or without a heaven there, not having any hope or faith in anything is a certain way to remain where you are right now forever. But if you can find something that can keep you going, something that no matter how small, to look forward to and continually have faith in and chase, well, then your life here will be better than it is now, heaven or not. And it was exactly what you were just talking about.
I love it so much. And it reminds me of a conversation I had recently. They'll listen to this episode so they know who they are. They said to me, well, sometimes in life it has felt that I've only had two doors. One marked misery, and then underneath it, easier, and the other door, misery, harder.
Right.
And so they said, well, I've chosen misery and easier because it feels like there's only two doors. And so what it produces is exactly what you articulate in that poem. You don't move forward. You stay stuck because you don't have something, any hope pulling you forward. And so your point is so valid and so relevant right now as I think about this person. They're a fan of yours, actually. Okay, I'll do this weird thing. Like, I can't give you any more details about the situation, but maybe you just say something to them right now. It will make a big difference to them.
How do we get home? Start with one first step in the right direction. And then celebrate. You got one in a row. And then do your best to go. Think I can follow that up with another one in a row? Sometimes we get on a hot streak and we get one in a row 5 times in a row. Sometimes we get out of the gate and we get one in a row. And we go to bed feeling like we're on our way, and the next day we take 2 steps backwards. See if you can have a chuckle when that happens and get back in the chase, in the race, to try to just get one in a row. And how many times can we get one in a row? It takes a lot of the pressure off of the obvious steepness of the climb and how to get to how far away home can seem that it is. And to be honest, I don't know if we ever get home. In this life, I don't think we ever do. Hopefully we get home in the next life, but anyway, in this life, I believe that the best we can do is things are tallied up when we leave this life, and it's like, well, how many steps did I climb? Never got there. But how many one in a rows did I get? And maybe that's height, maybe that's climb, maybe that's wider, maybe that's deeper. And I think my hunch is that that's as good as it gets. It's you just sort of, there's a tally at the end.
Progress.
Yeah.
Meaningful progress. I trained for 8 months to do an Ironman, and we came to, it was held in Texas. It's a Saturday. I'm there. Friday morning, we've already registered everything, and I wake up and I'm just in excruciating pain, and within like half an hour of that time, I'm in an ambulance headed to ER for what ended up being kidney stones, and I was trying to get the surgery. I was like, how do I get the surgery today so I can still do it tomorrow? You know, all of this kind of thing. It was just nonsense. But in the end, what happened is on the day of the Ironman, we were staying at a hotel that was right next to the end. And if you finish an Ironman, they call you by name every time, by name. You know, McConaughey, you are an Ironman. Greg, you are an Ironman. And I had to listen to that all day long while I was in the hotel room, half of the time on narcotics, and then, you know, and then coming out and in pain, and you'd hear it. And in a sense, I thought the whole thing was funny, because I think sometimes in life, the tests of life are so signature, they're so precise. I don't mean that everything in our life God authors directly. I don't know that I think that that's right. But some tests feel like, well, this had to be. It's almost destiny. Like this moment had to happen. The day before, it's too clean. The tests are too clean. They're too painful in a sense. And I lay there thinking, they are making all this progress today. There is so much visual evidence of progress. And I am making no physical progress. Like, you can't see any progress. I am in a bed suffering. And yet, I think maybe I'm making as much progress today as I would have done if I'd been out there, just a different kind. And it makes me think of people in life like that, on the surface, maybe everything isn't just working yet. but they're making a lot of progress in other ways. That feels relevant to what we're talking about.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Yeah.
When you think about these 12 pieces, are you giving the same 12 pieces to each of the musicians?
Similar. About 9 out of 12 are across the board at all 5 performances. There's a few different musicians.
Which is one of those 9, let's say, that are what one that you're going to do at all of the performances?
Okay.
Stands out to you as you're like, because this is you selecting the ones you most want to share with people.
Ooh, what mood you in? You in the wobbly, lost and lookings? Those are sure fun.
I am. So I'm not somebody. I've spent almost no day of my life feeling depressed, and that isn't me suggesting other people don't. Yeah. I just haven't. However, and I wouldn't even say that I've been feeling depression either. But I have had enough suffering in moments over the last few months because of all of these different things that are happening at the same time. And that's not me saying that life isn't good or there aren't incredible things, but suddenly it's just a burden.
Okay.
And so
gotcha.
Anything along that.
Let me run the one here by you. And this, the kickoff place I think where I like to get my mind before I share this poem is, we ask the hard questions now, we're going to have better answers later. And this is called, what are you going to do? What are you going to do when the hand you played turns out to be a pawn? When you're lost in the weeds of your own lawn? When those you believe in have all moved on? And what you saved up for is all but gone. When what you relied on becomes brand new. When the clouds are all gone and the sky is just blue. When your backstage pass is standing in the queue and you're too tired to rise and touch the morning dew. When your showing off quits causing a swoon. When the music's over and you lost your tune. When the lady in your bed starts riding a broom. And you need to go to jail, but they ain't got room. When one's enough, but you still want two. When your friends no show and it's all on you. When you give up on forgiveness and start to sue. And there's no one left to blame, only you. When you're high in the rise and you miss the dirt. When the hands that once soothed are now the ones that hurt. When you see evil and your eyes won't avert. And your $1 million smile's turned into a smirk. When you're bowing on both knees, crying at the pew. When your body don't mind what your head tells it to do. When nobody's your boss, not even you. And you're looking back on it with your last view. What are you going to do?
I love that.
It's a fun one, and I think that came across me probably a little bit. Maybe it has to do with turning 50s or whatever, but something about the realization that, you might have just begun, a Thursday side of your life, and to project, we talked about this in Green Lights, to project to, hey, what's your eulogy? Will sure as hell help your resume. You know what I mean? To project and ask the hard questions now of, what if I'm not this young forever? Or what if things don't go as I planned? If we ask those questions and just admit that they're worth asking, maybe not have the answers, we will find more worth living for, and I think have better answers. If we consider that now, we'll have better answers when we get there.
Yeah, to see around corners, to have some foresight. You don't know. It's like the one thing we can expect is the unexpected. So ask questions that help us to say, well, if these moments come to you, and some of them will.
To consider that could be part of the game.
Yeah. What if you can prepare even an ounce of your mind and heart ahead of the moment. Well, when it comes, you aren't just completely shocked by it.
Right.
From the naivety of thinking everything was just going to work out perfectly.
Yeah.
My wife Anna is an actress by training. She was in Belle in the national tour of Disney's Beauty and the Beast the first year that we were married, and we traveled around together for a year. We raised 4 children and homeschooled for a bunch of those years. And so recently, over the last year or two, has been dusting off those skills, those talents, and pursuing. And I've been so impressed by her, really, her diligence and just like how sharp she's getting again. But it still takes so much courage to try and do new things, as we've already talked a little about. I wonder if there's a poem that stands out to you for moments like that.
Ooh, new things and risk. Let me flip. So she's heading back into performing.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
acting.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
After taking time off with the kids and traveling and taking care of you and the kiddos, et cetera, et cetera.
All of that. Yep. Yep. Figuring out TV movies more than theater this time around.
Let me scan her here for a minute. Without this won't be the one. While I'm looking, I'll throw this out there. Without complacency, trust that time is on your side. Memory banks. When you hit that.
While you're looking for that, I'll just share with everybody who's listening or watching this episode. There's something different about hearing the author of a book or of a poem, maybe particularly with poetry, read their own work. And my understanding is that you've read the audio book version of Poems and Prayers yourself, which I think is just it's a lovely thing, and I encourage everybody. I mean, as you're listening to Matthew share these things, is it not different to hear it in his voice, to hear how he will emphasize it, which things stand out? And enjoy the audio version of this book. Please,
I had a great time reading it. Yeah, I'll read this one. It's called Canon. And maybe your wife will hear a little something in this. Selling Sunday morning like a Saturday night. Got to pay the tithe if we want to get the right. Drink some clean water under the neon light. A hickey on our neck, minus a bite. There's gospel music playing here at the rave. How else are we going to dance in the home of the brave? A little bit of duty with just a touch of Dutch. It's going to cost us everything, but not that much. Time to sell before we negotiate. Evangelize, don't administrate. Own to rent before we rent to own. Don't sell yourself short, get overshown. Trust in God, but don't rely on fate. Look in the mirror, meet your mate. Make a movement over a magistrate where getting married is just one long date. Opportunities over obligations. We take care of ourselves. We take care of the nations. Turn your light on and flick your switch. Keep faith in the dark. Demonstrate. Don't bitch. Remember now, don't forget what we're in. Revolution's only rebellion until you win. The future's on the table and there for the taking. Get what you give. It's here for the making. How to build better people is in your reflection. Take more credit. Make the connection. Earn your currency. Spend it well, because a useful story is worth the tell. Don't find yourself. Be the creation. The pursuit is all. There's no destination. Know who you're not. Commit to that chase. It's an infinite game. Just stay in the race. Heard and purchased, insight and seen, getting out of the haze and into the dream. Be on time, not ahead or behind it. Quit looking around and just fucking find it. Your freedom is responsible for us. Invest in yourself so we all ride the bus.
What makes you laugh about it? What's the reaction for you?
That is
reread it.
It's just I get out of that and I feel it's got giddy up to it, and it rhymes and it's funny, and I catch myself reading it, and and I laugh at some of the stuff I wrote, and I'm turned on by some of the stuff I wrote, and don't forget what we're in. Revolution's only rebellion till we win. Very true.
Yes.
Just to
Yes.
stay in the race and trust and believe and do, choose first, then do, and believe, choose, believe, do, and trust, and that cycle of doing whatever it is we need to do, and invest, looking in yourself, look yourself in the mirror, meet your mate, take care of yourself and take care of the nations. You know what I mean? Invest in yourself so we can all ride the bus. Again, that those are not contradictory. If we're looking after ourselves the right way, if we're desiring properly and understanding properly and behave, then we can behave properly. And that is not only good for us, it's good for everybody. So it's a heaven sent parlay. And I get a kick out of that.
When I was young, I had a little quote book, a couple of them, and I would write down any quote I came across that I really liked, and occasionally put some of my own ideas in there too. And the intent of it was, these are the ideas I want to have replaying in my mind. Yeah. These are the ones I'm choosing for myself, and it's going to take a lot of the record player has to go around a lot of times before those ideas become mine.
Psalms,
as I'm hearing you, go ahead. What was that?
Mantras and psalms.
Yes, exactly. Mantras, psalms,
over and over and over.
As you're reading these, that's what it makes me think of, is the part of the exercise, and as you're performing these and as you're doing interviews and talking to people about it, is that intentional desire to have these ideas running through your own mind.
Yeah. Amen.
You can, as you said at the beginning, metabolize it further yourself.
100%. 100%. It's as I said, this whole journey is my own, whether for lack of a better term, spiritual therapy. This is my own. Not trying to talk myself into it, but to remember that these are truths and ditties that came to me in times of solitary peace, that also came to me in times of great struggle, that came to me in doubt, that came to me in times of great belief and faith, that came to me in times of such certainty, and came to me in times of too much certainty. And so they're not haphazardly thrown out. I didn't haphazardly put them on the page in the first place, and I'm sure as hell not haphazardly, or sure as heaven not haphazardly put them on the page to share with anyone else.
Speaking of which, is there a poem that you didn't put in the book, not because it didn't make the cut from an editor's point of view, or you didn't think it was good enough, but that it was personal enough that you thought, I just don't want to put it out everywhere, but you'd still be willing to share it here with us? Is there a poem like that, or an idea like that that could have been put in, but you chose not to?
I'll read. You know what? Maybe I could read. I added this one after the book was done, because I found it, and it was something I wrote on New Year's Day in 1989 in Australia. Now you know English. The story, the Australian story.
No, go ahead. I missed what you said, actually.
The Australian story I had where I lived over there as an exchange student for a year.
Oh, yes, of course. I do remember that well. Yes,
it's a wonderful black comedy.
Lost a lot of weight.
Among other things.
Pretty miserable there. Yeah. Eating lettuce and ketchup, if I'm remembering right.
Listening to Rattle Hum, reading Lord Byron, working one out in the bathtub 6 nights a week. Yeah. Imploding. Well, I found this poem, and I didn't edit it all, but I read it, and I was like, wow, you had a lot on your mind there, buddy. And then I also
this is from that time? This is when you were there?
From that time. This is from that bathtub in Australia one night. And but I also, it has for whatever you think about it, it has that youthful 18-year-old rebellious, what's going on in the world, answer the why questions, blame this is bullshit, this is, you know what I mean? And so I read it, and this is, I wrote this when I was 18 in a bathtub in Australia, somewhat losing my mind, but I look at it, I'm like, you're honest, thanks. All right, it's called Soil. What wretched extent is life bowed to today? When will it end? When shall it begin? Our endless judgments that brandish the sin. Ignorant minds of the fortunate man blind of the fate shaping every land, drifting day by day upon selfish wings of his past, only seeking the wines of his narrow-minded cask. Love, provide us a chance to cure this social disease, or excessive infections have we never to believe? As bias past rule unfortunate futures, living adversities of both heaven and hell, why the flame reaches higher is so hard to tell. No cell, no home, city, state, nor land. The untold doom bleeds throughout every hand. The shrouded wombs sweat the pain unknown of so many premier as kings upon their throne. Self-destruction of the blind awaits in the range, the naive dwelling of the endless unchanged, the unaware return to the palace of the benighted. I too shall reunite, primarily delighted. But one thing, infallibly, I will never remain. And then I put this little piece of paper at the bottom, we flip it open. The same. So I wrote this at 18 in a math and I look at it and I go, man, you had a lot on your mind, but you obviously gave a damn. You know? I also obviously had a thesaurus near me because I don't know what the hell infallibly means.
Yeah, but it's the same idea though still. It is someone early on, yes, it's a very difficult time. You're trying to orient yourself. And my goodness, it seems to me that in the last 10 years, we've gone from being distracted, like that was like the primary challenge of the information age is that we're all distracted. But now I think as we're in the influencer/AI age, the defining challenge is being disoriented. And so orienting yourself in the world, trying to work out what way is up, what way is down, who am I, how does it fit together? Like
orientation, yeah.
We're buried in noise. We are buried in noise, and the word noise comes from the Latin that means it's nausea. It means nauseous. It's like seasickness, and so maybe with that as a kind of final question, final thought from you here, I think about. I mentioned it already, but I'll name him now. My best friend since I was 10 is Sam Bridgestock. He will die of cancer, and that's more obvious now than it ever has been. And he's been. I read years ago, McConaughey, that by this author talking about poetry, and he's talking about his own father dying of cancer. And he asks this question of himself in the essay. He says, are poems, is a poem worth anything? And is it worth, is it worth a major part of life? Like, what's it really worth? And his conclusion is that a single poem might not be, but poetry is. Poetry gets us through. And he quotes in that article the Dylan Thomas poem. It's a very well-known poem. And sort of in his honor, maybe I want to read it, but I also want to ask a question so you're thinking about this. As I read this, it has that word you've used a couple of times about rage. Yeah. We have to rage. And the question I'm posing to you now, you have a chance to think about it, is if you could rage against one thing successfully, if you could take on one thing as tangibly as possible, as real as possible, and you could rage in successfully, what would it be? I'll read it and then have your answer to that.
Okay.
This is Dylan Thomas. Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage against the dying of the light. Though wise men at their end know dark is right, because their words had fought no lightning, they do not go gentle into that good night. Good men that last wave by, crying how bright their frail deeds might have danced in a green bay, rage against the dying of the light. Wild men who caught and sang the sun in flight, and learned too late they grieved it on its way, do not go gentle into that good night. grave men near death who see the blind with blinding sight. Blind eyes could blaze like meteors and be gay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. And you, my Father, there on the sad height, curse, bless me now with your fierce tears, I pray. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light.
Mm-hmm. I'm raging against doubt. I'm raging against concession. I'm raging against apathy. The universe is designed to kill us. The world to rob our peace. Unattainable for pride and physics is a promise of belief. It's not meant to be on the menu. We won't find it if we disengage. I believe peace is a gift of God and grace, and to reach it, we gotta rage. Nice name.
Matthew McConaughey, thank you for being on the podcast.
Greg, my pleasure. Always good to see you, and good to see you face to face.
For everybody listening, not a question for McConaughey here now, for everybody listening, what is one thing you heard? What did you hear? It might have been a word in the poem, or in one of the prayers, or maybe it was in something that we discussed, or maybe it's something you hear inside of you. What did you hear? What is one thing you can do differently because of that? A small action, that one step. And who is someone you can share this conversation with now that this conversation has come to a close? Thank you, really, thank you, everyone, for listening.